much respect to Auburn, but we came out with the win, and I'm happy for my guys.
The Nittany Lions become the first Big Ten team to take the field at Jordan-Hare, and then they take over the stadium afterwards for an epic celebration.
As a kid, you always, you want to play in big games like this, so it's really cool to be able to experience something like that.
Whether it's lemonade at Toomer's, peanut butter pie at Acre, or the flight of the Eagle, we show you the storied traditions on the plains at Auburn. Nittany Game Week starts now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski, along with our coaches, Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley. This is a road victory to remember. Still hard to fathom. No Big Ten team had ever played in Jordan-Hare Stadium before Penn State, and the Nittany Lions leave quite an impression.
It may be a while before they invite another Big Ten team down. A lot of turmoil there, but a great win for Penn State, no question about it.
They're not inviting Penn State back for sure.
The local merchants might have, because I know there were a lot of Penn Staters down there.
Huge turnout. And what can this do, Tom? A non-conference big road win. This isn't a conference game, but this is still a really big boost to the team.
It's a great boost because now they've got a lot of confidence moving forward in what they've done. They've gone on the road and beat two teams, early in the season. So that's only going to help them as they keep moving on with the schedule, which in the schedule there is one tough road game coming up.
Yeah, coming up real soon. But to get those first two on the road is really a big deal. So the quick climb through the top 25 continues for Penn State, now up to 14th. Very impressive in a bunch of areas. Let's get to our opening drive. So much like the game, let's get this big hit out of the way. Props to Sean Clifford, who absorbs the shot and bounces back from it pretty quickly, scores the first touchdown on a quarterback draw. Jay, a lot of talk last week about the future. The present looks very promising.
Well, we talked about it a little bit last year about, it's exciting to think about what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now. But this team right now is 3-0. They're 14th in the country. They got a lot of things they can do. And, when you get a senior leader like Clifford coming back and P.J. Mustipher, they're on a mission. So I hope fans will, jump into this because it could be a really fun season.
And it was a complete performance on both sides of the ball, Tom.
It couldn't have played out better. You couldn't have drawn the whole thing out any better than that. And I think it's awesome that you got this older group, this younger group thinks they're pretty good. The older guys are going, calm down. We got it under control right now. You guys will get your day too.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, things are coming together well, and it's nothing quite like it when a good plan comes together.
We were really confident coming into this game. Didn't say anything about it. We just went about our business, and that's why I was so happy. Just because it was just great to see a team win, come full circle. Passing, rushing, O-line, defense making turnovers. It was just Penn State football. That was Penn State football right there.
Yeah, it's a high ceiling for the Nittany Lions when they perform like they did at Auburn. Next thing to discuss, guys, is something Sean touches on. The defense forces the turnovers.
Well, we talked about last week making this a game of quarterback play because Penn State had a real distinct advantage in that regard. And when you look at it, the quarterbacks from Auburn had 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. Sean had nothing, and that was really the difference in the game.
Turnovers, we always talk about them as a defensive coach. That's all we talk about. We always say, hey, tips and overthrows, got to have those. And the one thing is on offense, when you don't turn it over, it really, you win most of the games when that happens.
Yeah, 4-0 in the turnover battle. That's just huge. And Coach Franklin understands they got a bunch of playmakers in the defensive backfield.
I think it's our guys getting more and more comfortable and confident with the tweaks to the scheme. I think we were able to get more pressure. We would have had this many turnovers in the first couple games, but we dropped them. We made some tough, big-time interceptions where in weeks past we dropped a few of those. Not necessarily sure what the difference was, but we got to build on that. That's obviously what we prefer.
Yeah, +2 in the turnover battle is pretty good. It always leads to good results, let alone when you're +4. Okay, let's talk about the rushing game. Really comes to life at Jordan-Hare. Nick Singleton bursts on the scene in the home opener. Jay, you really like what you see from the other freshman, Katron Allen.
Well, that cut he made on the first touchdown that he scored is not easy to do. He saw a little bit of an over pursuit, put his foot in the ground and got in, and that's a tough cut to make.
Yeah, when you got guys that can run inside like that and you got guys that can run outside like Nick Singleton, Defensive coordinators are looking at it going, oh my goodness, we got to defend both these guys.
Why are you making it so tough on me today? No, you're exactly right. That's the problem. And those two styles are a little bit different. They keep you on your toes, and I think it's going to behoove them as this keeps going forward. Teams are going to have to be really paying their what's happening.
Tom, talk to us about the offensive line, much maligned in recent years. Had to feel good to push around the Tigers all day long.
And push around they did for 245 yards rushing, 0 sacks. That's a heck of an effort and they've been maligned going into this game. Everybody's saying, oh, the offensive line, they're not doing this, not doing that. They do that every week. That's going to be a hard team to beat.
You know, one of the best signs was Sean Clifford told us afterwards they got down to the goal line. They were asking to run the ball. Still to come, our scouting report. Coach Paterno and Coach Bradley study the Chippewas, so you don't have to. What to watch for when they're in a nickel set on defense and how Penn State's wideouts could block their way to some big plays when Nittany Game Week returns.
Scrap Metal is sponsored by the We Are Inn, voted #1 game day restaurant in Center County. Follow us on Facebook and visit thewearein.com or call for dinner or room reservations.
We're back on Nittany Game Week after an incredible experience on the road at Auburn. The Nittany Lions return in front of the home crowd to take on Central Michigan. Now, it's human nature to relax a little bit after such an amazing high point. Let's bring in the coaches, Coach Paterno, Coach Bradley. How do you keep a bunch of young guys focused and make sure they take care of business against the Chippewas?
Well, you showed them the second half of the Oklahoma State game when Central Michigan put up 28, 29 points at Oklahoma State and kind of made it semi-interesting. But we're going to talk a little about Central Michigan, talk a little about some things at Penn State to look at as well. But let's start with the Chippewas that are coming in. They're offensively, we talk about their running back, Lou Nichols, led the country in rushing last year with 1,848 yards, also caught 40 passes. Tom, he is a downhill cutback runner. Talk about what that means.
Well, that's one thing. He has two-way goes. When you watch him play, he is always shoulders square, hitting the line, tight cuts. He's not going to try to outrun you. He's getting downhill as fast as he can.
Yep. So let's take a look at that on the video, and you're going to see him. He's got the thing. He's got good vision. He puts his foot in the ground. He gets north and south, and that puts a lot of pressure. Now let's talk about their pass game. And as you start to talk about Penn State with the sacks last week, the one thing people want to do is they want to then get the ball out quickly, which is part of Central Michigan. They love the short passes. Their quarterback, Richardson, is 5'10", Tom. When you're playing that short pass team, what are you telling those guys up front?
You want to knock back and get your hands up as fast as you can.
Yep. And let's take a look at how they make that work against Oklahoma State here. They get the short crosser. That ball's out in a hurry. Catch and run. Got to look for Penn State to tackle well in the secondary against this. And this kid is a transfer from Maryland. He's 6'5", 203. Might need to eat a little bit more. I'm a little on the skinny side. But let's talk now about their defense. Their base defense is a 4-down lineman. Get up the field. They've got a nickel, number 5, who you got to watch on Saturday. 5 pass breakups, very active as a tackler. And then the safety's going to rotate and try and confuse your quarterback a little bit. So let's take a look at the video on that. You know, here they throw it out there. He's one-on-one with him. Does a nice job keeping in front of him. Next thing you know,
he's the player you want to watch for them right there. Number 5, keep an eye on him. He's very active, and he'll be active all day against Penn State.
Yep. So let's take a look at some more of the defense. Now, one of the things you want to do, they have a corner who's very, very good, number 4. Oklahoma State went after everybody else in the secondary. And the way they play with that nickel, because he's involved in the run game, sometimes bring this down. Now you're going to get the two-way go on the safety, Tom, which I know you love. And let's take a look at how that works.
I love that.
Yes. Safety 10 yards off, and you know that's not a good matchup.
Especially with a nice two-way go in the whole field at his disposal.
Yeah, the nice thing is he overthrew it. So that, you know, he got away with it on that one. Let's take a look at Penn State, some things Penn State's doing. Defensively, they're doing a really good job in the red zone. Auburn had a play that was actually a good play call, but because of the pressure and the confusion inside, the quarterback panics, throws it out in the flat, had a guy open, but that shows you, Tom, as you always say, the best pass defense is a pass rush.
That's exactly right. And you can see it's a prime example right here in this particular play. That young man is wide open.
In the back of the end zone, no question. Luckily, pressure got there. Talking about pressures, we talk about bogus pressures, Tom. You talk about making this look like a six-man blitz. 4 guys end up coming. And that confuses you guys. You guys on defense like that stuff, but it only ends up being 4 total pass rushers.
Yeah, and that's the thing you got to really analyze your protection. Do you want to, are you in man? Do you want to get in a slide protection versus if you're getting a lot of bogus pressure? And that's the thing you have to be ready for. If you're playing Penn State, you better be ready for bogus pressure, mostly from the outside. But now they got it coming from the inside.
Yeah, they get, Penn State got home with 4 guys, and Auburn had 5 to protect them, and yet a lot of guys not doing anything. Now, last thing, we talked about the offensive line and scrap metal. We don't want to forget about the big plays that happened because your wideouts blocked downfield. Watch this on the video and see how this springs Nick Singleton on this run. And don't pay any attention to the fact that his hands are outside and he's grabbing jersey. He probably got away with something, and we'll take it. And speaking of take it, we'll send it back over to Todd.
All right, good stuff, guys. Now, look, the schedule's really setting up well for Penn State this year. They have to knock them off one at a time, though. Fans are excited about this year's squad, especially the ones that make the trip down south. They really enjoy walking around campus the day before and taking over Jordan-Hare Stadium once the game is over.
I mean, I'm just looking at the stadium right now. It's just, as a kid, you always, you want to play in big games like this. So it's really cool to be able to experience something like that.
Obviously, it's a lot of history with this game that just happened. So it was great to be a part of it. Much respect to Auburn, but, we came out with the win, and I'm happy for my guys.
Had to be about 20,000 Penn State fans. All right, time to take a break. When we come back, our Impact interview with a former star college quarterback who continues to help shape college football today. Tom, Jay, and I chat with Oliver Luck when Nittany Game Week returns.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Welcome back. This week, our Impact interview guest has been involved in college athletics in a whole range of important roles. Successful quarterback at West Virginia, led his 1981 team to a Peach Bowl win over Florida, played in the NFL before getting his law degree at Texas. That leads to a career that includes time as an executive in NFL Europe, a member of WVU's Board of Governors, before becoming the athletic director. And also a member of the College Football Playoff Committee, worked at the NCAA. We're fortunate to tap into a wealth of knowledge and expertise. It's Oliver Luck. Oliver, welcome to Nittany Game Week. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, it's a real pleasure to be with you all, Todd and Jay and Tom. Sincere pleasure for a former Mountaineer to be invited on your show. Thank you.
Well, we'll see. Hold that thought until we're done questioning you. No. Well, look, Oliver, it took me about a half hour to introduce you. I'm sure I forgot 1 or 2 things. Yet our first question is going to be about beer. During your time in West Virginia, you implemented the first beer sales at football games. As Penn State contemplates this step at football games here, what did you find as you studied the impact, not only financially, but also the impact on the community?
Well, what we found was that, and this is a little bit counterintuitive, but it really played out. We found that selling beer, controlling alcohol sales and alcohol consumption in a stadium on a Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, actually leads to fewer negative incidents, right? There were so many people at WVU, 60,000 fans at the game. They were smuggling primarily hard liquor in, et cetera. That's not healthy, right? We've got a pretty raucous fan base, as you all know. And what we found was that taking a real hard line in terms of smuggling, booze, if you will, into the stadium, but offering people the opportunity to buy beer if they really wanted to, spend their $8 or whatever it is for, a 16-ounce beer. It actually reduced the number of incidents. Our state police, our university police, the Morgantown City Police, they are all very supportive of this because even though it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, it, I think, improves the game day atmosphere. It makes it a little bit more friendly, and and a little bit more alive. And that was, 10 years ago that we started beer sales. And I'd say there's probably, I don't know, 30, 40 schools that since then have done the exact same thing. And it hasn't caused any issues at all. In fact, our university police, state police, Morgantown City Police are all very supportive of continuing to do that.
Oliver, you served on the playoff committee, and you were charged with the difficult task of having to pick 4 teams. Now that college football is going to move to a 12-team playoff, and teams will be playing 3 to 4 extra games to win it all. What concerns would you have about that process and the challenges it will present?
Well, it's to a certain degree subjective, even though we had more data than we could possibly look at, right? Because football is a great game in terms of producing data. And there's always a debate about who number 4, number 5, number 6 are going to be if it's a 14 playoff. And I think you'll have that same debate around number 12, 13, 14. Hopefully, we'll see a handful of upsets and not just, the top 4, top 5 really kind of move through and make it into the semifinals.
Oliver, it's great to see you. You worked at the NCAA and saw some of the current changes coming, including NIL. Given the verdict on the Alston case and the current makeup of the Supreme Court, what other changes do you see when it comes to revenue sharing, collective bargaining, or anything else related to college sports?
Well, it's a great question, Tom. It's really sort of the issue, what's coming down the pike in the future that we don't quite have yet. Certainly, NIL is here to stay. There's no question that these student athletes in all sports, but primarily football, men's basketball, and in a couple of the premier female sports, there's going to be, a relatively significant amounts of money that are being spent on NIL activity for student athletes. I think that's a good thing, right? We're all capitalists, we're all free marketeers, and the student athletes can provide the proper quid pro quo, whether it's through social media, et cetera. I think that's a good thing. The next big question mark that a lot of ADs are talking about, and by the way, you got a great AD in Pat Kraft. He did a very good job up at BC, and glad to see him running the show for y'all. But the next big question is going to be, particularly given the size of the new TV deal that Commissioner Warren did for the Big Ten, and the same thing applies to the SEC, is going to be some kind of potential revenue sharing with the football players, right? Everybody uses the 80-20 rule in the sense that 80% of that TV contract is based on football, right? And then another maybe 15, 20% based on men's basketball, and perhaps a little bit of value for the other sports. So football really drives the bus, as we all know. And I think there'll be a long discussion about, what sort of revenue sharing could be appropriate given the sheer size of the dollars that are being transacted.
Stick around. We're going to step aside for the TV show to take a break. We'll continue our interview. So if you want to see the entire conversation with Oliver Luck, make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire interview, along with other web-exclusive content. Still to come, we experienced some of the great traditions at Auburn. The pregame flight of the Eagle, fresh squeezed lemonade, even some peanut butter pie. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week. Last week's trip down to Auburn is not just for the Nittany Lion players to enjoy. The traditions of the SEC are some of the most well-known in all of college football. Andrew Callista gets a taste and shows us a few of the War Eagle faithfuls' best practices.
To have the best fan experience in college football, you need to get away from the stadiums and hit the towns, especially when you are on the road. Penn State taking on Auburn, the Tigers, home to some pretty awesome traditions. Here are some of those that Nittany Lion fans are taking in.
We are Penn State! We are Penn State!
One of the greatest traditions in all of college sports, Toomer's Corner, where they roll the famed oak trees after a big win. The Nittany Lions dominate Auburn as if their fans ever had a doubt.
Traditions live forever, so Penn State lives forever. Penn State, let's go. No Toomer's Oaks being rolled on my watch.
We are! The Tiger fans gracious in defeat, so why not celebrate that domination down south and grab some famed lemonade at Toomer's Drugs. Fresh, sweet, and the taste? Now that's some great traditional lemonade. If you need a little bit of a late night snack for your sweet tooth, we are told peanut butter pie from Acre is a can't miss dish in town.
Velvety, got that beautiful smooth peanut flavor, balanced with chocolate, a little crisp with that crust. It's the way to go. It's the quintessential experience of the South. You can't not get this pie.
Finally, War Eagle is the battle cry for Auburn. The Eagles' pregame flight is iconic and is a can't-miss sight for fans as the stadium rises to its feet. With a keen eye in Auburn, Alabama, I'm Andrew Callista.
Great stuff, Andrew, man. That peanut butter pie looks good. All right, fellas, give us some of the players to watch.
Quarterback we talked about the wideout number 2 and Lou Nichols, but tight end 83 is a guy to watch as well in the pass game. Talking about defense, we talked about the nickel, DeJavian Stepney. Defensive end number 9 has 3 sacks in the year. He's a guy that could be a problem for Penn State.
All right, and you mentioned number 5, Tom. You like him?
Yeah,
That's the
I like
number to
him a
watch
lot.
on defense.
He is all over the field. I think he's the guy that, if you're going to watch a guy in their defense, he's a guy that can do so many different things and will do a lot of different things for them during the game.
Well, this is a dangerous team offensively. Defensively, they're going to have their hands full with the Nittany Lions for sure. All right, well, don't miss our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com, which includes these local businesses. Our goal is to build a team in the community that supports the show and that you, in turn, support as a viewer. It's going to keep the hometowns strong. And viewership continues to increase. We appreciate you checking out the show as we air all across the region. You can also see what we're up to at a time that's convenient for you by visiting NittanyGameWeek.com for all of our TV segments and some bonus web-exclusive content. When we finish up with some pride picks, don't forget to show us your spirit. We received a bunch of them from the trip to Auburn, that is for sure. So thanks for those. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.